She can see it. Synopsis. Everyone knows that. Jiang Yuzhou, the only son of the Jing family in the capital, spoiled me with deep love and devotion. I have also been convinced that Jiang Yuzhou will walk with me for the rest of my life. I rose to ask him, Jiang Yuzhou, will I always be the only one in your heart? Tap tap. Jiang Yu, wow, scratched my nose dotingly. So that's for sure. But he doesn't know that I actually have a superpower. Whenever someone lies to me, a conspicuous red cross appears over his head. Just as his words fell, a large red fork hung brightly over his head. I hooked my lips in mockery. So you've been lying to me all along. Chapter 1, Discovery. Introduction. Everyone knows that. 1. The door suddenly opened. Jiang Yuzhou bent down to change his shoes and frowned as his eyes landed on my feet. Why are you stepping on the ground with bare feet again? I watched him quietly, not moving. Jiang Yuzhou held me horizontally on the sofa, buried his forehead in my neck, and rubbed it and said in a warm voice, "What's the matter? Are we angry with sus? Say what if I didn't mean to come home so late? The company's been busy lately." He pulled out a box. Okay, no hard feelings. I took a detour and got the cassoulet from your favorite place. Jiang Yu so skillfully peeled the shrimp, picked the threads, and handed the shrimp to my mouth. Would you like us to have a bite? I stared into his eyes full of love and opened my mouth. I know that his deep love is not feigned. Jiang Yuzhou does love me, but he can also hide from me that he is keeping a woman outside and even has a child with that woman. 3 years old. He also hid it from me for 3 whole years. Chapter 2, Photograph. The Jiang family is a family with a huge industry in the capital. Jiang Yuzhou is the only son of the Jiang family of this generation. How many people in the capital city tend to rush to the power and wealth? The women who wanted to climb up the tree of Jiang Yu's IQ could line up dozens of streets. But everyone in the circle knows that Jiang Shao spoils his girlfriend Wen Suicide Heavens and is deeply devoted. There was a time when Jiang Yuzhou had a shareholders meeting at the company, and when his cell phone rang, he looks down at the message. His face changed, and he picked up his jacket and hurried out. Only threw out his sentence. My girlfriend is not feeling well. I'll go back to take a look during the meeting. Tane leaving the room full of people staring at each other. Jiang Yuzhou too lowered his head and continued peeling shrimp. I looked at him steadily for a while and suddenly spoke out. Said Jin Yu Sisiwei will always be the only one in your heart. Jiang Yuzhou froze and said without hesitation, because of course, Dashi, I only love you. He looked at me so earnestly as if I were the only one in his eyes. But as the words fell, a large bright red cross appeared over his head in the utmost mockery. As if to say how ridiculous I was in that moment, it was as if a hand clutched my heart so tightly that I couldn't breathe. Jiang Yuzhou slowly took over the Jiang family industry. This company affairs and it's busy, but will hear that I'm not comfortable, immediately home to accompany me. Would remember what I like to eat and would bring me little surprises when I came home. Sometimes my favorite snacks, sometimes flowers and jewelry. Would build a swing set in the yard with my own hands despite my status when I said I wanted to play on it. Knowing that I have a weak stomach, I would personally learn to cook and make nutritious porridge for me. Every single thing that happened was telling me in no uncertain terms he loved me. And how could it be fate? It turns out that a man's heart can really hold 2 women at the same time, right? I hooked my lips in silent mockery. How long would I have been kept in the dark if I hadn't stumbled upon my powers after a high fever? I squeezed my cell phone tighter. The photo on the information screen shows a family of 3 smiling and talking as they look into the camera. And the main character in the photo is none other than my affectionate boyfriend. Chapter the 3rd of December 18th. When Jiang Yuzhou got up in the morning, he gently dropped a kiss on my eyelids tucked in the corner of my blanket and then gently got out of bed, afraid of waking me up. When I got up and walked to the living room, the table was already set with the breakfast that Jiang Yuzhou had made. I ripped open the sticky note stuck to the table and it ran out. Daddy, I'm going to the office. Remember to have breakfast. Das ist Jiang Yuzhou to sit. I looked out at the note and the breakfast on the table. You see, he really acted like he loved me. When Jiang Yuzhou came home at night, he entered the door and picked me up and spun me around in place. Do you miss me at home today, huh? He set me down and pressed his forehead against mine affectionately. I didn't say anything, my eyes resting on his neck. There are 2 tiny fingernail scratches on it. I lifted my hands and lightly traced along the scratches, my fingertips trembling slightly. Jiang Yuzhou laughed and went to grab my hand. Zesty, it tickles teeth. I suddenly asked Jiang Yuzhou, what's on your neck? His body stiffened, and with a hint of nervousness in his brow, he explained, Tara ran into a kitten on my way from work and was tickled when I hugged it. A big, bright red cross immediately appeared above his head. I interrupted him. You came back in a car driven by your assistant? He staley added. I saw that cat was cute and got out of the car to tease it for a while. As he spoke, he half crouched and looked earnestly into my eye. His eyes floated with tiny stars. Beautiful. How many times have I drowned in those imploring eyes? But I won't be fooled over again. I looked at his face and laughed softly, seeing Yuzhou. You said that you would only love me for the rest of your life and that you would never have any secrets with me. Does that still hold true? His lips faded to blood, as if he saw a hint of what was coming, and his brow trembled slightly. I won't lie to you. I will happily be with you in my life. Jiang Yuzhou hugged me tightly and said it over and over again. The red cross on his head surfaced over and over again, growing brighter and brighter red with each word he spoke. I laughed mockingly. But Jiang Yuzhou, not a word you said from the time you entered was true. You say you have no secrets from me, but you hide everything from me. You say you didn't lie to me, but every word says that. Then what you said before. Are they all fake too? Chapter 4, the first meeting. The first time I met Jiang Yuzhou was at the opening ceremony of the university, and he spoke on the stage as a representative of the freshmen of this class. There was a teenage confidence in his hands and feet that seemed to glow. I sat on the stage and watched him. The teenager's reckless bravado infected everyone in the audience, and the stage applauded. The second time I saw him was at the swimming pool. I swam to the center area and suddenly got a cramp in my calf, choked on several mouthfuls of water, and flailed desperately in the water without anyone noticing me. Strength gradually drained from my body, and I sank in despair, my consciousness fading. A pair of warm palms gripped my waist in a trance. An urgent, hoarse voice rang in my ears. Hang on, don't sleep. And then the world went completely black, and I lost consciousness. Woke up in the school infirmary. The friend who accompanied the bedouts twice and marveled, said that it was Jiang Yuzhou who ran all the way to carry you to the infirmary, fell in the middle, but nursed you back to health. I've always felt that it was Jiang Yuzhou who saved me, and when I mentioned this after the relationship, Jiang Yuzhou smiled and nodded. Jiang Yuzhou and I started dating during my sophomore year, and his fierce pursuit was known throughout the school. Number Jiang shares high-profile confession of love to Wen Yuan, sashi dish in first in flower of a number. The post about getting down on one knee and confessing my love was even up on the campus posting board for 6 whole months. In the 7 years we've been dating, it's been so good to me. It's obvious to the naked eye and everyone knows it. And it seems like there's never a cold period with me. It's always been a hot love affair. Sisters around me often joked, he really envy you. Zafi, boyfriend has been so good to you. Jiang Yuzhou will continue to spoil you. The moon in the sky is almost hanging over your house. Now that I think about it, after 7 years, Jiang Yuzhou is also tired of it, right? Chapter 5, the other woman. I want to see what another woman looks like in Jiang Yuzhou's heart. I opened my eyes and got up in the morning when the door slammed as Jiang Yuzhou left the bedroom. I called a car to quietly follow his car. Jiang Yuzhou's car stopped at a toy store to buy something and then stopped at a shopping mall. I got out of the car and watched him quietly from behind one of the pillars. As soon as he got out of the car, a small figure crashed into his arm. Daddy Jiang Yu's teachers spoiled him and picked him up, rubbing his head and placing the toy bag in the little boy's arm. Do you listen to your mom at home? A woman with a bright and generous brow stepped forward to take Jiang Yuzhou's arm and pouted. Nan has been clamoring to see her father. My heart pumped hard. She shook Jiang Yuzhou's arm. After having Nan, the first thing you see is always him. You don't even look at me. Jiang Yuzhou lost his smile and swept the woman into his arms, lowering his head and kissing her forehead. How can you be jealous with a child? Our Vivi and Nan are both my favorite. I'm most familiar with Jiang Yuzhou. He's in love with his Vivi, and I can't hide the lust in his tone. The conversation broke off into my ear. I held onto the pillar, barely able to stand. The heart felt like it was being cut by 1,000 knives, and it hurt like nothing else. I pinched my fingernails tightly as a pang of bitterness surged through my heart. Hey, how ridiculous. Look, what a happy family. I'm the one who's like a third party in their relationship. The irony is great. A wet hot liquid dripped onto the back of his hand out of nowhere. I raised my hand to my cheek and couldn't stop the tear. You really look like an idiot. Chapter 6. I don't want you. Jiang Yuzhou came back late in the evening. Instead of leaving the light on as usual, I went to bed early. Out of nowhere, my head was getting sore and my body was getting cold. I wrapped the covers around me and frowned tightly, curling myself into a ball. So cold. So hard. The bed around me gently collapsed. Jiang Yuzhou wrapped his arms around me. He buried his head into the crook of my neck. His voice daft. Laysai, dahi, jasive, so early stuff. I opened my eyes slightly, pushing him away with difficulty. Jiang Yuzhou suddenly blushed. Zasi, why are you so hot? He got up hastily and probed my forehead. Sure, Jackie, you have a fever. I'll take you to the hospital. Jiang Yuzhou helped me wrap my coat tightly and carried me into the car. His hands trembling slightly along the wet. He wrapped his arms tightly around me and pressed them against my face, his voice faintly sobbing. He's not afraid. We're almost at the hospital. Don't be afraid. My heart rose and ached, barely able to suppress the hard feelings that welled up. Look how much he loves me, but he can love another woman at the same time. Woke up in the hospital. Slightly sideways, Jiang Yuzhou was lying on the edge of the bed with his eyes closed, his brows knitted tightly, his palm wrapping my hand tightly. He looked a little tired with a slight greenish blackness under his eye. The early morning sunlight poured over his face, softening his features beyond measure. I lifted my hand closer, tracing his brow vainly. The memory of the teenager is becoming clearer. That's right, it's the same Jiang Yuzhou I know so well. Then what? How can the heart under the skin change just like that? I pulled up the corners of my mouth in a silent chuckle and whispered, You've changed. I know that you're not just my boat anymore. Damgar of the Erica's cell phone lit up for a moment, and there were several missed calls on the interface. A message came in. Ark, what happened? It's that woman. I smiled to myself. I can't lie to myself anymore. Then I too don't want to. Chapter 7 called me. Ju was as good to me as usual, but also came back later and later. Occasionally absent-minded when he was with me, looking at his phone with a doting smile he didn't notice. It's probably the woman and the child who are so wrapped up in it. Jiang Yuzhou came back to explain that recently more and more entertainment really cannot spare time. I smiled and kissed the corner of his lips. Say it's okay, take care of yourself. Jiang Yuzhou embraced me, the faint scent of another woman's perfume flared. I fought back the nausea that churned up in my stomach and didn't push him away. He looked at me with a slight apology in his eyes and bought me more and more things. As if to make it up to me, waves of designer bags, shoes, clothes, and jewelry arrived in my room. I also left him alone and gradually stopped asking questions about his affairs. Then Jiang Yuzhou couldn't help himself. He bit my lip in aggravation. Tell Zasa, Setafi, have you been cold to me lately? I responded perfunctorily before pushing him away without a trace. Jiang Yuzhou rubbed my forehead like a child and said in a low voice, Then when I came back so late recently, why didn't you call me? send me messages, ask me what I was doing, and tell me to come back earlier. I looked at him with downcast eyes. In the past, when Jiang Yuzhou didn't come back beyond 11 o'clock, I would call him and ask him worriedly if something had happened and instruct him to come back early. When he came back from drinking too much, I would let him rest his head on my lap, heartily rub his temples, and feed him soba soup. Now, I didn't answer and just gently patted Jiang Yuzhou's back. I know he went to see that woman again. The pain in his heart had gone from a knife cut at first to a gradual acclimatization. I could clearly feel my love gradually pulling away from him. After waiting for a long time, Jiang Yuzhou did not hear my answer. As if sensing something, he held me tighter, his voice trembling over and over. Chishi, I love you. This time, no red crosses representing lying appeared above his head. What he said was true. I looked at him and touched his face. His eyes were hauntingly bright, more blinding than 1,000 lights. I believe it. He loves me. It's just that it's not just me. He loves. Chapter 8, looking at each other. Perhaps sensing that I treat him a little differently than I used to, Jiang Yuzhou has stayed close to me these past few weeks. Changed my favorite dishes, prepare surprises every day, and take me shopping. Doing everything he can to prove to me that he loves me. I didn't block it. Silently watching him do his best to cover up everything about the other woman. Sometimes I get lost. Isn't it tiring to love two women at the same time? This morning, Jiang Yuzhou kissed my cheek before he left the house. Liridasi, the company has a big project to talk about today, and the meeting ends late tonight, so don't wait for me tonight and go to bed early. I nodded as I fixed his tie for him. Good, don't get too tired. I know that he doesn't have any projects to talk about today. He held me close. I'm so happy to have you. Staying home was a bit boring, so I grabbed my bag and asked my girlfriends to go shopping. I was tired of shopping and went to dinner and picked a restaurant I hadn't been to before. It might be really unfortunate that the seat where he landed could see Jiang Yuzhou as soon as he looked up. The family was happily eating dinner. Jiang Yuzhou dictated on that little boy, probably because the child was having a tantrum. He gently flicked the boy's forehead and smiled as he scooped him up into his arm. That woman smiled and said something to Jiang Yuzhou. Jiang Yu, then she turned sideways and tenderly wiped the corner of her mouth. What a harmonious picture of parents and children. My girlfriend also saw it, and she looked at me with dismay. Isn't this Jiang Yuzhou? How did he? I nodded calmly. It's him. Jiang Yuzhou unintentionally looked up, met my eye. He froze, staring at me in dismay. Chapter 9, Break with the Past. Oh, Jiang Yuzhou's face turned white to the naked eye, and his lips faded to blood. He sprang to his feet, brought down the dishes with a crash, and rushed toward me, leaving the woman and the child behind, his voice trembling. No, Zexi Jossi, let me explain. I interrupted him. Looking at him calmly, he said lightly, "Because Jiang Yuzhou, what are you afraid of?" Because Jiang Yuzhou pressed me to death in his arms. Daffy, listen to my explanation. Don't go, listen to my explanation. I lowered my eyes, and Jiang Yuzhou's hands were shaking badly. The nape of my neck was suddenly hot and moist. He cried. The voice was hoarse, sassy. Jessie, I love you. I love you. Don't leave me. Jiang Yuzhou emphasized over and over and over again. I took a step back and broke free of his embrace. Look into his eyes. Jiang Yuzhou, do you remember last year's Valentine's Day? I wore my favorite dress with great anticipation and spent 3 hours in my bedroom putting on makeup to get to you, only to have you hang up in a hurry when you said you were in a meeting. Were you really in a meeting? Jiang Yuzhou's face became whiter and whiter as he panicked because there was a sudden emergency at the company that day, and I was really busy because as soon as the words left his mouth, a bright red punch bowl immediately appeared on his head. Lying. A paroxysm of disappointment wrapped up. I gave a mocking laugh and continued my questioning. There was another time when I had a fever in the middle of the night. I was lying in bed in a terrible condition. I couldn't get through to you. I was worried that something had happened to you, but what happened? Where were you then? Jiang Yuzhou seems to remember something, looking at me with increasingly flustered eyes. Pale, said, because at that time, I was talking about a project with a big client. The phone was muted, did not notice. The red crosses surfaced again and again on the top of the head, growing redder and redder. I was thoroughly disappointed. From the beginning to the end, Jiang Yuzhou did not have a single word of truth in his mouth. I got a picture from that woman. You were in bed with her at that time, weren't you? Jiang Yuzhou shook his body as if he couldn't stand. My best friend stepped forward and slapped Jiang Yuzhou while slamming her bag on him. Because I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person, Jiang Yuzhou. I was wrong about you. When she finished, she led me out the door. Xiang panicked and tugged on my coat to catch up. Suddenly, a little boy tugged at his pant leg and cried, "Tail, daddy." Jiang Yuzhou froze in the end, did not brush him off to catch up. You see, he didn't really love me very much. Jiang Yuzhou divided his love into 3 parts, one for his son and one for the woman. I, on the other hand, take up just another tiny share. The balance was never tilted toward me, Yunzhi. Chapter 10 Shining out the door. My best friend looked at me worriedly. Say, Safi Daffy. I smiled at her reassuringly. It's okay. I already knew that. Sent a micro letter to Jiang Yuzhou to say break up and then pull black. Instead of going back, I stayed at my best friend's house for a few days while I got a hotel room. During this time, Jiang Yuzhou's phone calls came in like crazy. I looked faintly at my cell phone, which had been vibrating, and blacked out his number. Turns out when it does break, there's still a throbbing pain in your heart. After a few days, I heard that Jiang Yuzhou was looking for me all over the capital like crazy, and I ignored it, pulled my girlfriends together, and found a bar for a drink. Thus I didn't around you, so has been with you for 7 years. How does 7 years? I'm tired of it. It's not as fresh as other women. I opened a bottle of wine, filled myself up, and tilted my head back. The fiery alcohol cut across my throat, and I couldn't hold back a few coughs as I arched my back, and broke out. I looked down at the ice in my glass, the bar light shadowing everything. The bus was a little saddened. Jiang Yuzhou, it's command of beginning. Love you to love everyone. Did not expect in the outside secretly raised a woman. There is a child. People always change, and so does Jiang Yuzhou. I filled myself up again and tilted my head back to take a drink. Drinking too fast, the liquor left down his neck. My best friend looked at me, wanting to say something. Do you remember jailing? Chapter even 10 years. Instantly, I know that the Chao family later recognized their son, and before he was recognized, Tao Ling was already the owner of a technology and innovation company by his own ability. The Qi family is a big family in the capital that doesn't lose out to the Jing family. With the help of the family, Chiling's career is even more soaring, and now there is a hidden trend of power Chai family. I said hoarsely, I know. Nothing crossed my path. My best friend whispered, he's liked you for 10 years. The glass knocked against the bar, and my eyes widened in dismay. He's never touched another woman in all these years. Zasi, he's been waiting for you. Do you remember a few years ago when a company maliciously withdrew its capital and your family's company broke its financial chain? I nodded softly. But what does this have to do with a Kailing? It was Chuling who filled Uncle Wen's hole despite the opposition of everyone in the family. My girlfriend slowly told me the story of Ercole. I opened my mouth and it took me a while to find my voice. How come you never said anything? My best friend sighed. You were so full of Jiang Yu that Chuling didn't dare to bother you. You can look back. I froze and turned around as Ickling stood behind me, gently watching me. Chapter 12. JT drove me back to the hotel. Along the way, he couldn't keep the corners of his mouth down, and after a few seconds of pretending to be serious, he unconsciously curled up again like a child who had stolen candy. I voiced out helplessly, I cackling, watch where you're going and stop glancing at me. Zhu Ailing's hands on the steering wheel stiffened, and the flush spread from her eyelids to her cheeks at a speed visible to the naked eye. Good. I looked at him in amazement. The rumored thunderous and unsmiling young master chicken did not match the churling at all at this time. For a moment, the only sound in the car was the shallow breathing of 2 people. Sai, how have you been these years? Said Chilling as suddenly. I froze. How's it going? Except for the betrayal that's tore my heart out later, Jiang Yuzhou has actually been very good to me. But if you know the ending from the beginning, that might as well not have been a heartbeat in the first place. I looked out the window at the stream of cars and the hidden misplaced neon. There was a moment of silence. Not bad, but I'm not having a good time. I was stunned and turned my head to look ahead. The car stopped and Jiang looked down at me, his eyes full of love. He bends down and violently closes the distance between the two of us, his warm breath spraying my neck, warming the air around us. Jiang's voice was muffled and provocative. Do you want to consider thinking about me? I'm not as good a talker as he is, but you're the only one in my heart. Jiang suddenly confessed. I panicked and avoided Lu Jianzu's eyes, subconsciously looking at his head. True story. The heart thumped uncontrollably. Not daring to answer, I hastily thanked him and then hurriedly pushed open the door of the car, claiming that I had fled. Jiang's low chuckle came from behind. Chapter 13. After studying design in college, I returned to my old profession and opened a studio. After getting off work, he saw Jiang's car parked downstairs at the studio. He leaned lazily against the car, something muffled in his windbreak. Seeing me, Jiang's eyes lit up. He walked up quickly and handed me what was in his hand. It's a thermos box. Jiang gestured for me to open it with an expectant face. I lifted the box and the aroma hit me. Medicinal porridge. Lu Yunzhi looked a bit nervous, but still pretended to be calm. You taste it. I looked at him in surprise. You did that. He lowered his eyes and nodded with a look of being pitied. You don't dislike me, do you? A soft spot in the heart seemed to be touched. I looked down and tasted it, hearing my praise. Jiang's eyes sparkled with stars. Then I'll make it for you every day, okay? Softness welled up in his eyes as he watched Jiang carefully. I nodded softly. I love my job and often work late. No matter how late it gets, Jiang's car is always waiting downstairs, rain or shine. He leans against the side of the car, his eyes on the lighted studio. Every once in a while, I look out the window to meet Jiang's eyes, and he bends the corners of his eyes to wave at me. I turned off the light and went downstairs. That one of my Jiang was still waiting downstairs. I froze and said helplessly, "You don't have to wait for me until this late. Every time I can get back on my own." But Chai want to see you every day. Jiang's eyes were slightly smiling, and I was in a trance for a moment. In the eyes of others, Jiang, who was a sharp-tongued man who didn't like to smile, always looked at me with eyes that were too gentle for words and white cheeks that were always flushed. "Jiang, will you drink with me?" Good. I took Jiang to a clear bar. Maybe it's the people around me that reassure me. I drink somewhat recklessly. I'm a little wobbly from the wine. He walked me upstairs. The light from the elevator shone on Jiang's face, outlining a well-defined side profile. I shook my head and opened my mouth. "You've liked me for 10 years. Why have you been waiting for me?" Jiang smiled lowly, his gaze so loving that he wanted to drown the person in it. I love you for no reason. I looked at him for a long time as the ambiguous temperature in the elevator rose. Under the influence of alcohol, I ghostly tugged on his tie. The dropper kissed on the corner of his mouth. Jiang's body stiffened, his fingertips brushing over my lips in slow motion. Those dark, sunken eyes were tumbling with emotions raging in a frightening way. You recruited me. Chapter 14. Jiang Yu, so regret. I woke up in the morning and rubbed my forehead with a headache. Suddenly, there was a soft laugh from above my head, and someone tapped me on the head. Just as I get up, I sit up and have breakfast. Heat raced up my cheeks, and I buried my head under the covers in shame. He pulled back the covers and pecked me on the cheek. I covered my face and pushed my head down to push him off the bed, only to have my legs give out and almost fall to my knees. Jiang laughed softly and scooped me up into his arm. Be careful. An unfamiliar number came on the cell phone. I let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly pushed Jiang away to answer the phone. Jiang Yuzhou panicked voice rushed out from the end of the screen. "Mrati, where are you? I'll go pick you up." Okay, what happened last time? I interrupted him. Jiang Yuzhou Wen, we broke up. Jiang Yuzhou, his voice was tinged with tears. "No, Zaki, I didn't agree to break up, Zaki. Tassie, will you go home? I was wrong. I was wrong. I lowered my eyes, listening to Jiang Yuzhou apologizing and admitting his faults over and over again, saying that he loves me. What about that woman and child you're keeping out there? Would you throw them away? Jiang Yuzhou hurriedly said, Essie, just see, I'll send them abroad and no one will be able to meddle in our lives again. We've been together for 7 years. Don't be cruel and leave me behind. Okay. Ha, it's ridiculous. Am I being cruel? I whispered. Yang Yu, have you ever thought that what you have done is like a knife scraping on my heart? I will also hurt. There was a sudden silence across the room. What's the use of talking about this now? How long you've been hiding this from me? How long you've been with that woman, Jiang Yuzhou, in your own heart? After that, I just cut the phone off and blacked out the number. He said, Kling wrapped his arms around me from behind and nuzzled his lower jaw against my neck. Achichi, we go back swear. Why Kling doesn't make a sound? You mean back to Jiang Yuzhou? I laughed at Xiling. I'm not that cheap. But it would be unrealistic to say that it's not hot on the heart after all the years I've been with him. Diga Wing suddenly called out to me. Ikaling wrapped his arms around me tightly, hyped I would never betray you. You're the only one in my life. I froze. No red crosses surfaced on Ixinlang's head. Chapter 15, pushing Xiling away. I was silent for a long time. Finally pushed him away gently. Yuriling, I'm sorry. Why did you apologize? Ixin looked at me with red eyes. My eyes averted and I didn't say anything, even if what Jiriling just said was true. So what? He loves me now. What about later? Will it be the same as Jiang Yuzhou? I don't want to feel betrayed all over again. It hurts too much. It hurts too much. I don't want to make the same mistake again. Ling squeezes my shoulders, red eye. Look at me. Sassy, why don't you dare to look at me? So what were we last night, a one-night stand? What do you take me for again? Endless bitterness welled up. My nose was sore. Whisper. I'm sorry, Tidio Ling, I'm sorry. Echoing, let go of me. The grief in his eyes, dang it. He looked at me steadily and suddenly laughed softly. Wing always say you never trusted me, have you? Tears slid down my cheeks and I shook my head hard. It's not Jialing, it's me who doesn't deserve you. Cooling took a step back before turning his head and pushing out the door. I leaned helplessly against the wall and smiled to myself. Wen Yunzhi, you don't deserve happiness. After a couple of days, my best friend asked me out. She teasingly raised an eyebrow. Sick, how's it going with Ikaling tea? I looked down and stirred my coffee. It's better not to hold him back for someone like me. You turned him down. My best friend looked at me in surprise. Boy, that Wing loves you to death and you're just gonna kick them out. I don't deserve him. When he heard this, Ikaling had to cry his eyes out. He didn't realize that the girl he put on the tip of his heart was using this reason to reject him. Come on, baby. You were the University of A's top girl in college, and you were first in your department, and you played the piano in pain. So where do you fit in with the word unworthy? I pursed my lips. I'm scared. I'm afraid Jialing is the next Jiang Yuzhou. That's Jiang Yuzhou's fault, but baby, you're the victim. You don't realize that whenever there's an occasion where you're around, the Ikaling kid's eyes are always glued to you. I trust my eyes. You've always been the only one in Ikaling's eyes. A little shaken, I nodded my head slightly. On the way back, I kept thinking about what my best friend had said. Suddenly, a floral arm stopped me, accompanied by a flirty whistle. Chapter 16, you recruited me. I took a few steps back in fear. Looking up, it was a street punk with dyed green hair. He looks like he was drunk and shook the bottle in his hand. I'll have a few drinks with me. With that, he stepped forward to take me by the shoulder. I cower backward in fear, backing away. What are you running for? Before the words finished, a fist had been slammed hard into his face. I was pulled into a familiar embrace. Ikaling held me in a death grip. His hands were shaking badly, and his face was full of fear. Shahai Jahale, don't be afraid. I'm coming your straight. Sirens blared, and the punk gave us a hateful look as he got up from the ground and stumbled away. I shrank into Aikeling's arms, my body still trembling slightly. Aikeling pressed my head, his voice trembling slightly. Ragnar is not afraid. It's okay. It's okay. He buried his head firmly in the crook of my neck. I've thought it over, whether you don't love me, whether you use me as a spare tire, as a fun time in a gap in your relationship. I want to be there for you. Can you make a place for me in your heart? An overwhelming warmth surrounds me. I whispered. Kai carried me out of the car and laid me gently on the bed. They said, Diao is asleep in the living room. Don't be afraid. He was just about to turn around when I called out to him, He turned back. I reached up and tugged on his collar, biting his lip. Heikeling's eyes widened before he leaned down to deepen the kiss. Chapter 17, Ju? In the morning, the doorbell rings over and over again. I opened my eyes sleepily and nudged Equiling to get the door. Equiling kissed my eyelashes and pulled on his loose robe to answer the door. The moment the door opened, Jiang Yuzhou's urgent voice came in. Tomo. The words came to an abrupt end. He stared at Equiling in dismay, his eyes fixed dead on one spot. The man's chest, exposed by his loose bathrobe, was scratched by a woman's fingernail. A horrible conjecture surfaced in Jiang Yuzhou's mind. Jiang Yuzhou reddened his eye, chilling. What the fuck are you doing here? Isn't this Zosef's room? What did you do to my girlfriend? Jiang leaned against the doorframe, looking good-naturedly at the emotionally broken man in front of him, and opened his mouth. That say Durfee broke up with you a long time ago. What you Jiang Yu, Zakzu, don't cherish is the woman I Jiling put on the tip of my heart. You're full of shit, Sakti Daxi, and I didn't break up. I want to see her still. Jiang Yuzhou reached out to push Jiling, but when he raised his eyes, he met a pair of cold eyes. Jiang Yuzhou froze. Those eyes that were once filled with love when they looked at him were now only rusty. I spoke lightly with Jiang Yuzhou. If you don't go to your QY, what's the point of coming to me this early in the morning to make trouble? But seriously, I don't love her at all. I've told her to pack her bags and get out. Sally. I was wrong. Come back. No love. What about the family that was so happy at the mall and the restaurant that day? I looked into his eyes. You are the one who said you would live a lifetime. You are the one who said you would never deceive me. You are the one who said you would only love me, and you are the one who betrayed me. Jiang Yuzhou, which one is the real you? I don't want to waste another 7 years on you. Like a premonition, he looked at me prayerfully, his voice vaguely weeping. Pace. Can't we go back? That question was answered at the outset. I nodded softly, can't go back, and then closed the door heavily. It occurred to me from behind his tone, full of hearted. That's right, Jeffrey. I would never betray you. If I lied to you, I raised my fingertips to cover his lips and whispered, I know. When Echoing and I were together, I never saw a red cross on his head that meant lying. I asked him, were you the one who saved me when I was drowning with a cough cramp? Echoing nodded. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't think I was good enough for you. After a year of dating Echoing, we got engaged. After 6 months married, Echoing gave me the grandest wedding ever, and it was a big hit in the capital. May I ask, Mr. Chi, do you take Miss Wen by your side to be your wife for richer or for poorer till eternity? Echoing gazed at me fondly. I'm yours for life. Chapter 18, Chauvin's Perspective. Aikbuker Perspective. I was only recognized by the Aikbuko family in college. Before that, I had a bad time in my foster parents' home where beatings and starvation were commonplace. Who would have thought it? But now the capital city's popular young Master Chi was once the target of schoolyard bullying. Every day is like being stuck in a rotten, stinking quagmire with not a single ray of light in your life. At one point, I wanted to end my life. One day after high school, I was rounded up in an alley. The punches and kicks kept greeting me. Looking at the kid's shitty, poor look, I guess his family doesn't have much money, ha ha ha. I curled up in agony as various insults drilled into my ears uncontrollably. People passing by would just look at it and hurry away. Suddenly a book bag flies and hits the bully. A girl in a school uniform lifted her foot and kicked a man down, tugging on my hand. What are you waiting for? I can't beat this many people run. She took my hand and stormed out. I froze as she pulled me along. The first time someone dared to step in when I was being bullied. The first time someone pulled me to escape. Running far enough, the girl stopped, standing still for a moment to catch his breath. She patted the ash on my shirt. Are you okay? Should I take you to the hospital? Like a movie, the image seemed to freeze in a moment. Her eyes were like the winter sun, bright and warm. I recognized her, the prettiest girl in the first grade, and her grades were top-notch. Wen Yunzhi. She was bright and dazzling, as if she were not in the same world as me. We were never supposed to cross paths. Low self-esteem is pumping bars like crazy inside. I took a step back and whispered a thank you, then turned and ran away. Then I studied hard and got into the same university as Wen Yunzhi. In the swimming pool, when I saw Wen Yunzhi struggling in the water, my mind went blank and my heart beat wildly. I swam as hard as I could towards her and lifted her up. When he turned his head, he saw Jiang Yuzhou, who was also rushing in this direction. I know him. He's the one who's in the same world as we and see him, as dazzling and sought after as ever. Turns out low self-esteem never went away from me. It's been growing quietly in the heart. I handed Wen Yunzhi over to Jiang Yuzhou Wen and left like a loser. During my college years, I studied day and night, researched the market, and founded my company until I became the newest and the youngest master of the pool in everyone's eye. I'm finally qualified to approach Wen Yunzhi. God knows how happy I was to learn that she broke up with Jiang Yuzhou. I know I'm mean. I will love you very much. Since Jiang Yuzhou had let go, he would never have a chance. Lastly, Safi, I won't let go for the rest of my life.